Hello everyone, welcome to my first video, and today I will show you how I made this animation from WandaVision. Before starting, let me tell you that this is not a step-by-step guide of how to do this, but an overview showing the different steps of the process to make this. If you want to learn Blender, you can check out Blender Guru's tutorial series. The link is in the description. So let's get started. In the world properties, set the color to full black, and in the render properties, turn on ambient, occlusion and bloom and increase the intensity to full. I started off with deleting everything else other than the default cube. Then I modeled one pixel with very easy modeling techniques like scale loop cuts. Add a loop cut to either side of the middle loop cut. Select the four faces from the left hand side and hit P and then separate by selection. Do the same for the right hand side. Fill out the empty faces of each object by selecting respective edges and pressing F. Do the same for the other two objects, the middle one and the right one. Move the objects a little bit away from each other on the x-axis. Select all, duplicate it and put it in its own collection and turn off the collection. This is just for backup purposes. This step is not compulsory. Now select all the objects and press Ctrl J to join them. Go to the top view with number pad 7, go into edit mode, select all with A and press U and then project from view. Add a material, destroy the principal BSDF and add the emission shader. Plug an image texture to it and open the following image. The link to download it is in the description. Fix the UVs accordingly. In edit mode, select one vertex from the middle piece and hit L to select the linked vertices. Then go into the materials tab, click on the plus icon, select the same material, duplicate it and press assign. Go into the shader editor and add a color ramp node in between the image texture and the emission. Change the white to a green and move a little bit to the left. Do the same for the right hand side piece. Just instead of green, select a blue color. And one pixel is done. Now select an object, duplicate it a bunch of times on the X and Y axis as shown. Click on select and then select random. Shift select any one of those selected objects and duplicate the red material. And then press Ctrl L and then materials. Then increase the strength of the emission shader. Hide selected objects. Do the same for green and then the same for the blue color. Now unhide everything, and this doesn't look that good. But don't worry, we will fix that. Okay, now we need to animate this strength value for the emission shaders. Select on the objects we just turned bright red and go to the first frame. Now hover over the strength value and hit I to add a keyframe. Now go a few frames further with the right arrow key. Turn down the strength and press I again. Do this randomly for a few times. Now do the same steps for the blue and green color. Most of these steps are very repetitive. Just show for one color and do the same for the rest. Anyways, now select everything, duplicate it and move it on the Z axis. Now select everything again and rotate on the X axis. Then scale on the Y axis to move them a little bit away from each other. Now duplicate a few pixels and arrange them in our scene like this. The original scene is actually quite dim and there are a few God rays. So for that we have to add volumetrics. So first go into the render settings, volumetrics, and then set that to 4 pixels. If you have a good CPU, then you can set that to 2 pixels. Then set the samples to 128. Now add a cube and make it a little bit bigger than our overall scene. Go into the shader editor, delete the principled BSTF and add the principled volume shader and plug it into the volume input and mess with the density. Then add a spot lamp and set its strength to about 100 to 200 and put it anywhere where you think God rays would come from and would generally look good in your scene. Most of these things are based on your liking, so tweak it as much as you can. Now add your camera and put it right at the start. Add depth of field and set the f-stop to around 0.6. The new EV depth of field is great. Alright, now animate it going from the start of the scene to any point you like really. It really depends more on the speed at which it goes. This is not really a looping scene, so yeah, keep that in mind. Now animate the rotation. Start it at frame 1 and press I and then rotation. Go to the end of the animation and rotate it to a Dutch angle shot and then I and then rotation to add a keyframe again. So now the final step, compositing and rendering. Press render and render image. Now go into the compositing tab. Press use nodes and if you have the node wrangler add-on turned on, press Ctrl Shift and T to add the viewer node. Now add the RGB curves node and just try everything. Then add a color correction node and choose these settings. Add a lens distortion node and turn up distortion and dispersion just a little bit. It just adds a cool effect around the corners. Now add a glare node and set to fog glow and you're pretty much done. Now go in the render settings and change some color management settings. Set it to very high contrast and change the exposure and gamma. Go to the output properties and I change the resolution to 1280 by 720 to render faster. To make the animation slower, as I had accidentally made the animation extremely fast, I added some time remapping. Set the old to 100 and new to 170. Set the output file path, file format to FFmpeg video and encoding to MP4. Now finally hit render and render animation. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comment section down below. Stay tuned for the next video. Until then, bye bye.